Gracias.
How would you say this word? The word.
Just be ready to say, get into small rooms, discuss, and then we're going to debrief. All right, everybody.
Milani has the floor.
And here it is.
It is all
Great. Thank you. We got everybody, I think. So fantastic. So this is more kind of detailed logistics. Thank you, Gabby and Shaylee, for handing out all sorts of papers. So this is why we gave you binders. All this stuff is 3-hole punch, so you can stick it. So don't lose it. Excuse me. And we're going to go through all of it. So a lot of it, though, this is not going to be like the code contract. We're not going to be reading through every last word. Is this an audible couch? It makes noise.
We've recently discovered.
Does it make bodily noises?
It's groaning.
It's groaning.
It's a whoopee couch.
It's a whoopee couch. So unlike the contract where you need to read every word out loud together, a lot of these are just, I'm going to go through at a high level, and you're going to have this if you're the kind of person who likes to kind of read all the details. But a lot of these you don't need right now, because they're more like when you get in front of a computer and need to do something, you're going to pull this out and go, oh yeah, they wrote this all down for me, and I'll follow this later. But let's start with the one that says Ready to Rise Coach Activity Schedule and Budget. And you'll know it because the flip side of it has colorful, it's got actually the coach monthly checklist is what I want to point out to you. So it's third page, coach monthly checklist. Do you have extra copies? Oh, you can take it. Oh, sure. Grab one of each. Yeah. Thanks. So the big deal here is what are we asking you to do every month consistently? And there's a few things, and they're all listed right here. So our really awesome director of evaluation loves to get things down. She made this in case you are like some of us who like to keep careful notes on things. Gerald's like, yep, that's me. Yeah. Okay, cool. So this was made for Gerald. And anyone else who wants to just keep careful notes on this, we just want to make sure that it's done. We're not going to, when you do one-on-ones with Lori, Tyler, Anna, Amber, when you do your monthly one-on-ones with them, they'll check, they want to know that you're doing this. It might be helpful for you to bring this in. You could sort of fill it out with them, but they just want to make sure that you're doing all of this. So that's what this worksheet is for. So what you've got here is every month you track the number of scholars. So some of you have more or less than are on these lines, but you write in who your scholars are, and then you want to make sure, did I have a one-on-one with them? If you did, you check it, right? So this is just a track. And these, and we've already talked a little bit about the nature of those one-on-ones. We're hoping that they're in person. We're hoping that it's even like you go for a walk together, you meet up at Starbucks. There are times, is there someone here who did one-on-ones with their coach who has an example of what a one-on-one may have looked like? In our first pilot experimental year of doing coaching? Yeah, what did it look like for you, Tyler?
She was like, "Hey, have you had lunch yet?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "You want to grab some pasta?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And then we just went up and talked.
There you go. Excellent. Okay, right. So they didn't. So was that just at the cafeteria? Or I mean, at the was? That,
Oh, like upstairs, like the third, but like upstairs.
okay.
Like it was like still like like not private, but like
More privacy.
yeah, it was in those like cool chairs. I think
Yeah, like those big, like fancy chairs they have.
Those chairs are honestly the coolest chairs they have.
They are the best chairs.
And
Yeah.
they're really comfy.
You get so much privacy in those little chairs.
And they're super comfy.
Go to Central and check out the chairs. Is what I heard.
They
Okay.
wouldn't know.
You don't know.
They're missing out.
But that's a really good point. So in a minute we're going to be talking about how y'all get a little bit of money to take your scholars out. You could stretch those dollars by meeting up somewhere if you've got a cafeteria and you guys have if you're on meal plans for those where that might apply. Anyway, you do your one-on-ones, and then so that you check that off. And then you track your one-on-ones with this interaction tracking. So I said a little bit about that. I said there is an app. I actually don't use the app regularly, so I've asked one of our site director people to say a little bit about what it's like. So Anna, you're up. You're not quite up yet.
Oh, I swear. So your site director, so for my coaches, it'll be me. We'll send you a link. It'll just say, I just put it on my dashboard as like R interaction tracking. So it's really self-explanatory, super easy. So it'll ask you, have like little bullet points, like what school are you at? How long did you meet them for? It goes like 15 minutes to like 2+ hours. Was it in person? Was it over text? Was it over the phone? And then it'll give you a place where you can write up to like a pretty large paragraph about the meeting. And for me, sometimes it'd be something just a few sentences. But if there's something really specific, like met with so and so regarding their grades, gonna check in with them about that in 3 weeks. You can always go back and look at your interactions, so you can reference that in your next meeting as well and be able to keep track of that going forward. And then it'll ask you to mark if you used your card or not. So
Your Visa card.
Your Visa card, yeah. So if you did use your coach Visa card, it'll ask you for how much. And you just put the amount in there and keep your receipts. And then you just press submit, and if it goes through, it'll just say your interaction was submitted, and it's easy.
How long does it take?
To fill it out, 3 minutes.
So they need
Super easy.
They need to keep their receipts. What do they do with those?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I thought last year.
I just told my coach to keep her receipts just because I just told her to be
It's so
diligent.
easy this year, you don't have to keep your receipts.
Even
It
better.
is-
Perfect.
As long as you're doing the measures that are asked of you, because
Right.
we do need to see that interaction happened and that money matches up. So
Right. We'll get to
otherwise,
that
I
in a
want
minute.
receipts.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Cheap.
Yeah, we just got.
Except when it comes to snacks.
Go ahead.
So, any questions about how this interacts? So you'll send, so the staff sends a link, you click on it, you enter your interaction. I think it might be easiest the first time you do it when you actually have an interaction in mind. You can even walk through it with your site director. I'm sure they'll be happy to show you.
I walked my coach through it and just showed her on my computer, like we had our interaction, I showed her how, because I have to do it for my scholars and my coaches too. So I showed her how I did it, it looks the exact same. So, and then it was really easy, never had any issues. And sometimes I have to, prompt her, so maybe, you might get a little message from your site director, hey, just remember to log your interactions, because that's how we all keep track about, how the scholars are interacting with everyone and who might need, a little bit extra attention, so.
Yeah. Great, thank you. So that's actually a good reminder. Everyone who's a Ready to Rise scholar already knows this, but we have this it's funny. We have this crazy big evaluation project that's on top of Ready to Rise. So the focus groups we've been doing and all those surveys you're taking is because we're trying to prove that Ready to Rise works. Because we want Ready to Rise to spread to more schools, and we need more funding, and so that's why we're doing this evaluation. So we are tracking everything. We could tell you from December 2018 how many interactions with which student about what, And we can also get a list of all the coaches who are not tracking their interactions, and then you'll get a little nudge that will say, don't forget to track your interactions. So, wait a minute, it's pretty amazing how systematized all this is. And it's really simple, and we'll know if you're not doing it. I guess that's what I was saying too. So please do. Okay. Questions about interaction tracking? No. Meeting with your site director, that's a one-shot meeting, one-on-one per month. So far, if we're tracking here, we've got 10 hours a month. The one-on-ones should be somewhere between 15, 30, maybe 60 minutes per scholar, but you're gonna wanna assess that depending on how many scholars you have, because again, we don't want this to go over 10 hours. Interaction tracking, 10 minutes at the most per event, and then meeting with your site director, that's probably an hour. Yeah. Then a training or group activity completed. So you are encouraged to come to the scholar trainings, and I gotta say, they are getting even better. I don't know if you went to did anyone go to the scholar trainings that happened these last 2 times? Some of you went to the ones that were happening in your local community. I'm not trying to shame anyone if you didn't, but if you did, how did they go?
Well, it was my first time actually, because I was like one prior, like to like their first meetings. But I really like the energy and like the ideas that like our kids had. I definitely like feel like they're very comfortable sharing, and they have like a pretty good bond, I would say. So and they're super like excited to like come and meet their other like scholars that they're heading to school with. So like I just like the energy, the positive energy that they have going on. So
sweet.
It just motivates me more.
Awesome. Bryce, did you say you went too?
Yeah.
How was it?
Good. I thought it was a good opportunity to connect with the scholars that I didn't get to connect with at the initial retreat, because I was kind of in and out, so I didn't really get to like hang out with them that much. So I thought it was a good opportunity to like get to know them more and get like their perspective on stuff. And it was good to like go through those trainings again, because I forgot some stuff. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the same thing when you're on campus. It'll be a lot of the same material, but you can revisit it. We are getting even better with the material, so it might be even better. And you're also going to be a little bit of a rock star there, because you're going to be a second year student, and you can interact with your scholars and like you say, sort of build relationship and connect with them and get some of their good energy. So that is not required, but it's encouraged, and I think particularly if some of the topics are interesting to you, to make time for that.
Yeah.
The other
I was just gonna add, if you guys see like a topic and you're interested in the curriculum and want to develop your chops like facilitating it, please let us know, because I would love to have coaches co-facilitate with us or facilitate the training, and we're just there to support you. So let us know. We're open to that.
Absolutely, that's a great idea. And I think that's true for all the site directors. Yeah, if you, Tyler, Anna, if you wanted to have.
I'm selfish. I want to do them all.
All right.
I'm totally joking. I need y'all, my 2 local ladies. Y'all can definitely come in and do the whole thing too. That would be awesome. You could have somebody did they do that last year for you too?
No, I want to do it this year though, because you guys have been through it as scholars, and
Well, I think when we had, I don't know how it works at Tacoma, but when we did it at Clark, we had the career counselor folks come, and both of them did a great job. Both different personalities. One was really extroverted, tons of energy, and the other one was more introverted but just gave great information. And they were just leaning in and they asked a lot of questions. And so I think it makes sense for those. But I think that you guys can come in and we sit down with you and work through some of those trainings. The perspective that you guys can provide is a lot of times fresher than ours. And then just peers, right? It's some leadership growth opportunity for y'all. So definitely, yeah.
Right, and if you're in a program on your campus where you need to do volunteer hours and things, I mean that all really counts for the leadership development work. That's all a great resume builder.
we'll sign papers.
Right. So that's the first part here. I'm on the training or group activity. So you can attend a training, you can be part of a training, or there's the group activities. So you're encouraged, if you're not going to a training, consider having, so this is just like going out with 2 or 3 scholars at a time, or so you're building their relationships with each other, and you're all going out. There is a wildly successful movie outing to Black Panther in Tacoma, right? So you could do something because you've got the funds. You've got the funds to pool. You might want to even do a mega trip with another one of your, co-do it with another coach and pool your funds and go to the movies and dinner or something. So anyway, something like that.
For adding like that, the Visa card, what if we have like 4 students and then like movie and dinner? It's expensive, so what about that?
So you gotta work in the budget. We'll get to the budget in a minute. Okay, yeah, good question. And then the Dash MasterCard tracking, that's this actually, this is almost, what's the word, irrelevant, not less useful, because it's going to be all done on your app. So I'm going to get to that in just a second. But we want to make sure, but you have to do it. You just get to do it on an app. So we want to track how much you're spending. But the point is, for going through all of this so much, is that that's it. If you do all of these things, the one-on-ones, the tracking the one-on-ones, meeting with your site director, and doing something with more than one scholar at a time, either a training or a group activity, and then tracking that and any money you spent, that's your 10 hours every month. And you were done and golden and a rock star coach in our eyes. Yeah, make sense? Questions? Oh, good? Okay. So you can read more about that in this piece of paper, but that was the main part about that. Let's see. So now let's talk about money. So, oh wait, there's another one. I'm not going to go through this, but the interaction tracking overview says in more words what Anna explained. So if you want to kind of read through more carefully how it works, you can do that for your reference. Okay, so let's first go, there's so much bigger. Let us look at Dash MasterCard. So they're not actually, we kind of say Visa, they're MasterCards. I think Visa and MasterCard are pretty much taken everywhere. But it's a MasterCard. And so I've got frequently asked questions. Let's go to that one. Okay. Let's see. So I'm just going to go down. Let's just go down the list. Yeah. We better do some scholar interaction. It's pretty. I mean, it's a coach interaction. It's pretty late. Alejandra, Taco, could you read the bullet number 1?
How is the amount? Number what?
Oh, is it? The bullet.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
you're on it.
How is the amount on the card determined? Okay. The amount of the card is $50 per the number of scholars that you are personally matched to.
So I am realizing that that's not exactly right. So the amount that you get for your budget for the year is $50 per scholar. So how many scholars do you have, Jody?
I have 6.
You have 6. So what is Jodelyn's full budget for the year?
$300 for the
$300 for the whole year. All right, nice.
I'm just seeing if anybody's
Not a math major.
Just checking your math real quick.
Well done. Were you using your calculator? No.
In my head.
Okay, all right. I didn't know what you were doing.
Math is always a struggle for a brother, so.
That's correct. So $50 per scholar per year is your budget. The Dash MasterCards y'all are going to get are start with $50, and then if you need more because you know you're going to go to the movies and want to take them out for pizza or something, you have to figure out if you can afford it, because once the $300 is gone, it's done. So you have to do some adulting budgeting and decide whether or not, what time of year is it. And so last year, some of the coaches kind of forgot about it, went really on the cheap, and then around April went, oh, we've got a month left of school. We could actually use this on something. And then others blew it a little bit faster. So you want to think about how you want to portion it out. But you start with $50, and then if you want more, you need to ask for it on the app. So,
So quick question, I don't know if you answered this. So like, let's say, Alexis goes and kicks it with Alexis, and they go to the mall and get like bubble tea, whatever it's called. And they get that. No, her, it's bubble. It's bubble, but then you put bubble in it.
Boba.
It's called bubble tea.
I agree.
So
I'm with you.
So you guys go to the mall, it's $4.50 a piece. So she gets hers with that card too. Or how does she buy hers?
Coaches are welcome
just for the
to.
coach? Say it again?
Coaches are welcome to use those funds. Like, we don't want you to go and buy somebody fun and then just sit across the table and stare at them
Or
if
like
you don't
the
have
movies or
money.
something, you know
But,
what I mean?
like,
Yeah.
You have to factor that into your budget. Is
Yeah.
it worth you going to a movie one time when you could probably have coffee with $6 for that same price? It's
Yeah.
just, I don't think there's a wrong answer, but
Okay. And I don't know if anybody else was having that question, but I wanted to make sure.
Sorry, I was reading ahead. So every time we're about to make a purchase, we have to request the funds in
No.
advance.
once you're out of the first $50 that's preloaded on your Visa when you get it in the mail, once that money's gone, if you want more than that $50, you'll have to go into the app and request it on the request form.
Can we request it like chunks at a time? 50
You can. You can do more than 50 at a time, but you have to justify why you need that money.
All right, thanks.
Right. An important thing, so let me say a couple words about this Dash in particular. So Dash is actually this company that only does sort of online Visa gift card administration. And what they're known for is the super easy app. And it is connected to, when you go onto your app, when you first sign up for it, it will say your name and what's your company, and it will automatically say degrees of change. Just go with it, because that's who it's connected with. It's because we signed up for it. So you put your name and degrees of change, and I think, and I'm getting into one of the other how-to guides, which isn't, so you'll do this later, and then you put in the last four of your social security number, if you've got one and you're comfortable doing that. You could also just put in, and it says this here, not like 9999, and then that's totally fine too. So feel free to do whatever feels more comfortable to you. But then what they end up doing is they take money out of the degrees of change coach budget, and then they put it onto your card. And then you have to track when you spend money. It says, minus $10 at Bubble Boba Tea, and then you have to go in and you just tag it, like you click down and it will say like food, entertainment, or other, and so you click it, you hit food, and then you move on. I hear it's really, really easy. The downside is the part where they're taking the money from our bank accounts and putting it onto your card. That takes a full 10 days. So if you know that you're getting low, then you want to put in a request for it right away. And it doesn't need to be approved or anything. We're kind of tracking it along, because we can go in anytime and kind of see how you're doing. But you just need to, that's just how long the system takes. Okay. This is when I say one other thing. The part about, so I'm gonna hop over away. Sorry, I'm kind of going off the frequently asked questions, but this is important. The Dash how-to guide starts with number 1, claim your invitation that was sent to your verified email address. Do you see that piece of, see that right here? They will only do that if you have filled out your coach. There's a form you need to fill out. Help me out here, Laura. What's it called? There's a form in about there's like 7 of you who haven't filled this out yet. It's,
Is it the release?
the release, thank you, that's the word I'm looking for. So there's a coach release form, and all it says is, I agree that you can take my picture, I agree that I'll travel, and agree that you can give me medicine if I get sick, whatever. It's a medical release too. So we want to have that, and in order to be accountable for that, it's connected to this. So we're not going to release the Visa card, the dash cards until we get your release forms. And I know who you are too, so I can get to you each individually to make sure you get them done. Okay. So, and those things are probably easiest. You could do them online here. Wi-Fi is really sketch right here, right, in case anyone didn't notice. But it's strong in the gym, and that's where we're going to do our workshops. So we can either do it online here if you're feeling ambitious, or if you really think you can remember, you can do it when you get home too. But I'll talk to you. Maybe if you can get the release forms done now, I mean, like while we're at the retreat, then you'll be golden for these Visa cards. The Visa cards will come once you sign up for them in about 4 weeks. So that's plenty of time, I think, before school starts. For everyone who's watching, we need to get on it first. I'm now going back. So far, so good. You tracking everything? All right. So now we're going back to frequently asked questions. Thank you. Let's see. Did you read yet?
No.
You didn't. Would you please do number bullet 2?
Does that mean that I need to plan to spend exactly $50 on each scholar? No, it doesn't. You are expected to just use the total amount budgeted to spend on the scholar, as well as yourself as a coach.
Unless you want to stretch your dollars, like Lori was saying, and if you want to pull of your own bucks for the boba tea, then that's.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
What if there's a scholar that decides to drop from the program? Would it be?
It's a scenario we have on it. It's one of the scenarios.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So just maybe want to save that. It's a
Well,
great question.
Is it Visa card related though? I mean, in terms of the scenario?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Okay, so in if you mean money wise?
Yeah.
So so technically, if that drops you from 6 scholars to 5 scholars, then the budget does go down. It might also mean though that, and we've had, some of you might have experienced this in a couple of our schools. We had some coaches change around and some scholars change around where budgets changed because different scholars clicked with different coaches, or a coach had to leave or something, and so there's a little bit of a reallocation. So as long as it remains $50 per head, however many people that is. Good question. Would you like to read bullet 3, please?
What if I have questions about my budget? Is there anything not allowed? The site director campus coordinator is responsible for approving your budget and answering questions about it. Ready to Rise discourages the use of alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, and related substances regardless of scholar age. Purchasing these substances is not allowed on this part.
Yes.
I can't smoke with my scholar.
I'll add a few things to that. So let's see. Pho Thai, $22.98. That sounds reasonable, right? 2 people probably got pho together. Shell service station, $21.30. Okay, maybe your scholar works at a gas station. I can justify that. But the rest of the things on this card, Fred Meyer Gas, Fred Meyer Gas, Fred Meyer Gas, Domino's Pizza on a Saturday in the evening, Chevron again, Ross for $9.89, Sally Beauty for $87.56.
$87.
We know what you're spending this money on, and it's very important that you guys, it's very important that you guys are logging what you're spending your money on for that clarification. That was one of our lessons learned this year. We had a different kind of card, and we didn't have that up-to-date live action transaction report, but this time we will, and I won't be waiting until the end of the year to ask people to pay this money back, because that technically is stealing funds from Ready to Rise, and as an agent of Ready to Rise and also somebody at the school, we may have to notify schools if funds are misspent. So I don't expect any of you guys to do anything like this because you have this awesome training telling you in advance not to. But please consult us if you do have something that you're like a gray area on, like I'd really like to meet with my scholar, but I don't have enough gas money to get there, or, you know, like there are gray areas, so please consult your site directors and we could help walk you through those. But we do see everything and we know who's, and now your names are on the cards too, so there's not that
was a
confusion. Real lesson learned, yes.
I
So.
must have bought like extensions or something at Sally's.
Me and my scholars are all dyeing our hair together.
Right, there you go.
Please don't line it
better have
up.
a
If it's
picture of that.
justified, I'll leave it alone. But
that's-
because there are things that might look a little weird when they show up, so that explanation is very helpful to us as staff to make sure that the money's being used appropriately for your scholars. So, so that was a little commercial. I'll hand it.
That was a great point. And also another thing that can be talked about during your one-on-ones with the
Mhm.
sector, if they've got questions, they're gonna ask. But, right, we also didn't have, most of our coaches were fantastic last year. And they jumped in not knowing anything about Ready to Rise. You all, you all are coming in with a much better understanding, and I think just a deeper commitment and understanding of the program. So we don't expect any of that to be happening. Unless you want to do the hair dyeing itself. That's actually
I might come to that one.
I know, that sounds fun.
Who's up next for reading the next one?
If friends join us for the event or meal, can this pay for them as well? No, the Dash Card funds are to be used to pay for RTR scholars and coaches only. If friends attend, they are responsible for their own costs.
Pretty straightforward. Thank you. Next.
What if I want to buy? I'm sorry. This is like. What if what is the sentence?
What if what I want to buy doesn't?
Unfortunately, we can only support the funding of social activities through these cards, so be sure to select activities or items for purchase that can be paid for with the card. Contact your site director if you are in a bind. We know, we've been in that situation.
And we know, like in Central and the Yakima area, there's a lot of things that only take cash that are activities. So we're willing to be open and creative. We just have to go through the right channels to try to problem solve that. So, yeah, talk to Amber.
Can you take, so if that happens, is there a way to like go to an ATM, take out that, but then have a receipt with you and then use that as justification?
I think you need a PIN number on the card.
Yeah, it doesn't take up cash.
Okay.
No, it would be more talking to your site director and figuring it out, and then it would. We're really discouraging that though. We're hoping that you can find stuff that'll take MasterCard because it'll just be way simpler for everybody.
Doesn't like doesn't MasterCard usually work like on like people take like Foursquare and stuff like that? You know what I mean? Like those places that like instead of
Like if they have a Square.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay. Just making sure. I've never used MasterCard. That's
Yeah. It's super versatile. Hopefully you can.
Just making sure.
Next reader, please.
If there's more than one RTR coach at my school and we want to pool funds to buy something big, like a nice dinner or ticket to an event for everyone in the cohort, can we do that? Yes, please be sure to verify your idea with your RTR campus student site director beforehand. Then be sure to request the funds ahead of time to give the RTR central office time to approve.
And it's not really the central office approving, it's more the Dash being able to get it to you in time. This does, so I am aware that there are people in the room who are probably super planners and you're looking 2 to 3 weeks out ahead of time all the time. There are others who might say, oh, there's someone coming in concert tomorrow and it's only $10 ahead, let's do that. If you don't have enough money, you might really need to hit up your other coach friends to see if they've got enough money to figure it out.
Another thing is site directors, we have a budget for a couple of social activities that we want you to do in the off months that we may not have a training or that maybe there's some downtime. I'm thinking of like when we do a holiday party when everybody came back home in the community. Talk to us too if you have a bigger idea like that, and maybe we can schedule it if we get enough notice or collaborate on that too.
Yep. Okay, 2 more.
How do I check the balance on the card? You can use your Dash app to check the balance.
Yup.
What if I lose the card? We expect you to keep this card in a safe place at all times. If for some reason the card is lost or stolen, please contact your site director, campus coordinator right away.
So, you're gonna get this card, everybody, because you're gonna all make sure you have your release forms in, and then everyone's gonna get the, an invitation over your email, and you're gonna order your cards within the next couple of weeks, and then you're gonna get it within the next 4 to 6 weeks. And then you're gonna use it, and if you have any questions, you can ask your site director. Yep. Any questions right now about the use of this?
I'm just doing the math, and if you're a WSUV coach, you might want to do it soon because school starts at the end of August instead of the end of September. So, not
There's
to.
no WSUV coaches.
Okay. Well, if whoever's down there just working with scholars, Tyler.
Okay,
Get a
so we
generic
are.
one.
Tyler, is Mandy not here? Like, is she not there?
She's not coming.
Oh.
Should have gotten her here.
Oh.
You didn't know this.
No, I do know. I know she wasn't here. I'm just like,
Okay, so everything else in your packet is for you to look to reference. Hold on to it though, because the dash tracking piece, the dash how-to guide is going to be helpful for you to set up your app. So thank you for listening to all that. We have one more thing before dinner, and it's a little more, I think it's a little more engaging.
It won't take very long.
Okay.
15 minutes.
You want to come
Sorry,
up?
I'm doing this.
You want to come
Actually,
Go stand in front of the camera.
All right, you guys, if I get your focus up here real quick, we're gonna do this for about 15 minutes, and then it's gonna be dinner time, so we're gonna make sure that we're effective and we're efficient. Okay, y'all with me on that? So, what you're gonna do here in a minute, you're gonna break into groups of 3. And I'd encourage you to get with 2 other people. Get with people that maybe you haven't been conversing with or connecting with as you've been here so far. So maybe as you're thinking about that, who you're going to get in a group with. And so what we have here is we have 3 different scenarios. And what I want you to do when you get in your groups is to read each one aloud. Okay? You guys follow? To read each one aloud, and then take about 2 minutes individually after you read them aloud, and just think of some different scenarios about how you would handle these different situations. Does that make sense? Okay. But before we do that, I just want to get a feeling for the room. So on a scale of 1 to 5, as far as your comfortability and your confidence as being prepared for your first one-on-one with scholars, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being like, man, I'm super nervous, I have no confidence. 5 being like, I'm feeling good about this, I'm feeling pretty prepared and confident. Where you at?
3.
So put your hands up.
3.5.
Just show 1 to 5. So a 1 means you're not confident, you're nervous, you're worried, you don't know what you're gonna say. Focus. A 5 is you're confident. 4.
I'm ready to be like
3.5.
3.5.
Why are all
3,
my
5,
people
5,
nervous?
Because we're nervous people,
You're
you're
fine.
anxious
Because you was
people.
with me, yeah. You was love. All
All
right. So real quickly, we don't have a lot of time. So what are, if I just have a couple people share, what are you excited about? Okay, and what are you worried about? So some of you are like at a 3, 3.5. You're probably excited and you're confident about some things, but then you're also worried about some things. So if people just want to share, what are you feeling confident about? And then maybe what are you feeling worried about?
I'm feeling like really confident about like this simple, easy stuff. Like, oh hey, how's it going? Like, but I'm like really worried they might hit me with something bad. Like, what if they're just like, oh, I'm pregnant? Like, what do I say? That's like my biggest worry.
Well, first we need to check see if you have any females on your roster.
Bro, I have 3.
All right. Okay. So what else?
It's gonna be like.
So you're feeling confident about.
It's not even
The easy stuff. So when you say the easy stuff, like how are you doing today? What's going on? What you up to?
Yeah.
Okay. What are some other things that you guys are either feeling confident about or worried about?
Yeah.
I'm worried about kind of relating to what Busy just said. Like, what if it's something that I can't like relate to, or like something like super like out of pocket?
Yeah, like what if you can't just like relate to it? You know?
No, like I try, but like it's like, what if it's just something like, and like I don't want to be like I don't want them to feel like I don't care or I'm not trying to help them or something. Like I want the connection to be genuine. Like I just don't want to. Oh, that sucks for you. Like I want to. Like, I want. Yeah, because I know I personally lack that kind of skill. You know what I mean? Like so.
When it's something you can't relate with, does anybody have any perspective on that? Sure.
So I work my orientation job, and I had situations like that where I had students who I couldn't relate with or I didn't know anything personally about. And the best thing, what I recommend you can do is you can do one of two things. You can either you can recommend that they go see this person, or give an outreach to another coach that they can talk to about that situation, or you can partner up with that person and go and talk through the conversation so you get better perspective on how that situation does, so you know how to better confront it in the future.
All right. So, anybody else got any other questions? Anybody else want to share what they're excited about, what they're nervous about?
For the energy.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm nervous about if they don't really want to talk at all.
Oh yeah. Get ready for that.
You're doing your effort and like your dad like, hey, what's up?
Well, so here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. Great perspective. So pretty much all of what you guys talked about is gonna be some scenarios here, and you guys are gonna go get your groups of 3, read them together. So read them aloud, and then take about 2 minutes to think about this by yourself, and then converse on those scenarios in your group, and be back here by 5:45. So you have about 10 minutes to do that. Okay?
Can I make a suggestion that each group just choose one scenario?
Sure.
Because it'll go fast.
Okay.
And dinner's going to be ready in 15 minutes.
15 minutes. So choose one scenario. We got to make sure everybody. So we're in groups of 3. So we want to make sure every scenario is touched on. How do we want to do that logistically?
Who are you in your group with?
Why don't we just like number off?
You're in my group.
Yeah, let's just number off. I like this. Let's start playing.
Numbering off. 1,
2,
3,
Okay, 1. Lean over here. 3, 4, 2.
Alright guys, so we're gonna start off with scenario number 1. So who picked number 1? And awesome, okay. So we can start with you guys and then if you want to give your responses.
So we do just explain the scenario?
Yeah, maybe just read through the scenario and then just give a couple suggestions, what you guys talked about you would do in that scenario.
Okay. So Kevin and Dominique. I don't know. Kevin and Dominique have just been introduced to each other for the first time. Kevin is a scholar and his regularized coach is Dominique. Dominique wants to learn more about Kevin to build his mentor relationship with him, but Kevin is a bit shy and keeps to himself a bit. What are some things that Dominique could do to get to know Kevin a little bit more? So what we said was
No, you're not exactly what we said. You want me to say?
Yeah.
You want me to say?
So we talked about just like certain questions that you can ask to get them to open up. Because obviously people want to start with usually like surface level things before you get into like the who hurt you, what's your life story type of thing. So starting with those, and then also like approaching them in different ways based on their their personalities. Like if they're more quiet, if you're an extrovert, don't like run up to them and be like, hi, how are you doing? And like, approach them with whatever type of communication style they seem to like connect with.
You guys have a couple ideas or?
Oh, I was the third group.
Oh, you were? Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So I was just saying, being more personal with them and opening up and talking about yourself and
just ask them what you might have in common. Yeah. Something I was thinking about was also if they're really introverted and shy, to go in a place where it's really quiet, way more one-on-one, maybe not bringing them to a really loud, common space where there's a ton of other people. So a place where it's, pretty quiet, maybe like the library or like, a little corner of a coffee shop, they'll probably feel more comfortable talking to you. Cool. All right, so who had scenario 2? All right, cool. What's that?
Felicia is a coach and her Ready to Rise scholar is Alex. In the beginning of the school year, Alex is experiencing feelings of not belonging on campus. She is not a part of any club or organization on campus through Allen. Is mostly by herself between classes and studies by herself in the library. 3 months later, she has expressed to Felicia that she does not want to return to the school another year, although she has not made up her mind about it. How can Felicia help Alex in feeling more connected on campus? So for that scenario, basically I said trying to figure out what interests Alex has would really benefit how to help her out, because it wouldn't necessarily trying to figure out what she likes wouldn't you wouldn't necessarily force her to go into a club, but you could help her connect her to people who she would feel more connected with or at home with, because they could understand where she's coming from. So if she's more interested in drawing or painting or something like that, she wouldn't necessarily have to go into an art class or an art club, but she could point her into the direction of people who she would enjoy communicating with.
Nice. No, maybe it's not a club or an organization if they're in the dorms. There's a lot of different social activities. When I was at school, that's how I met all of my first friends in the dorms. They put on movie nights, social activities, things like that. And that's how I kind of got introduced to my first little social circle. So that's something that, a little bit outside their comfort zone, but not as big of a commitment as joining a club or an organization too. Okay. What about number 3?
So Rosie is a first-generation college student and is mentored by her coach Beverly. Upon preparing for college and arriving on campus, her family has high hopes and expectations for her, since she will be the first in her family to go to college. During the middle of the school year, Rosie has received failing grades on her papers and exams. Rosie feels as if she's failing her family since they had high expectations for her to be the first to go to college, and as a result is experiencing early signs of depression. So what can Beverly do to help Rosie through this process of managing family expectations, academics, and mental health? So, do you want to talk about it? I mean, I kind of remember, but it's kind of there. You don't have to. I'll try my best.
You just said grilled cheese and I can't think of it.
We're almost done. We're 2 minutes from the grilled cheese sandwich.
Okay. So what we said was have her feel good first. So take her out and make her comfortable, and then she can start talking about what her problems are, and then depending on her problem, we can take her to whoever can help her. If we can help her, we'll try, but we can ask other people to help them. Yeah. So tutoring for the academics, and then for mental health, therapists.
Yeah, most campuses will have on-campus counselors. Like at Western, they have all these different things that'll help you, assess stress management. They have workshops, one-on-one things that you can do that might be helpful as well. And something that I tried to incorporate last year with my students was we talked about self-care and mental health. So something that I went over because, for a first-generation college student, that's a lot of pressure. And it's not because, she's not smart or not dedicated, because of that pressure, it gives her anxiety. her mental health deteriorates and that she can't study and that she fails. It's not because she's smart, she's preparing, but a lot of other factors that are going into that too.
I feel like a successful way to like handle this scenario is whether somebody has like failed a class or like gotten a bad grade in class or not. I feel like everybody here is at least knows someone or like experienced what it's like to like have a bad grade or a grade they didn't want. So like the first step I would do is like let her know she's like not alone and like there are people, like there's genuinely people who are like really smart, but sometimes they just like struggle in a class for X reason. And so like that will kind of like help her on her mental because it will like kind of put her more at ease, and then I would like make the next step to like recommending her people who could like help her academically.
Can I actually say that I think that is so right on, Vince, that you're, I mean, one of the magical parts about being a near peer mentor is that they will listen to you. Your experience personally is so much more powerful than having somebody my age tell them about, oh, well, you know, it's hard. First year is always hard. If you say, yeah, I bombed a class too, or my buddy bombed that same class, or whatever. I mean, there's something, I mean, you remember, right? If somebody else near your age says, yeah, me too, it's just really, really reassuring. So yeah, sharing your own personal experience, that's a part of being vulnerable. That's great. Yeah.
I think we're done.
So dinner proceedings, hold on.
All right, so here's the next thing.